Thank you, Julia, and thank you everyone for coming to the most niche thing and the tax assignation campaign. So I will explain what it is, but most of you probably don't have it in your countries, from what I see. I'm known as Gabrielė, but you can also call me Poor Man's Jiri, if you want to. So, tax assignation campaign, what is it? In Lithuania, as well as in Poland and Italy, and I guess Slovakia and maybe some other countries, citizens, when they pay taxes to the state has this thing where it allows you to choose where your part of your taxes goes to. So you can assign 1.2% of your income tax to any NGO that you want. There is 0.6 for political parties as well, but basically what we have is this thing where all NGOs are collecting a part of people's taxes. Which of you have this in your country? Can you just raise hand? Ah, okay. So, oh, amazing, 3.5. So sounds a lot. So basically, I call this campaign a fundraiser's nightmare. Why? Because it's totally anonymous. In Lithuania, like you don't know who's giving this to you or who's not. Like it's totally anonymous to us. It's external. It means everything is happening on the website of the state. The forms are filled on the website of the state, so you don't see any data, what people are actually doing. And the feedback is delayed by half a year. So you finish the campaign at May 2nd, you get the donation, part of the donation in July and another part in November. So you only get the full data like half a year later. So you cannot, like, you don't know if what you're doing is actually working until it's a bit too late to change anything. And yet, in Lithuania, this year we have predicted how much we will get by with like 99% accuracy, which is the first time, by the way, we managed to predict it. Oh, hello, Marek. Thank you for coming. And we also 10x'd our income from this campaign like in 7 years or in 6 years, depending on how you count it. But I want to ask you as well, all of you who here works with fundraising at least a little bit. Show of hands. Okay, there's a lot. And who here invests? In the stock market, Bitcoin doesn't count. Okay. Okay. So those of you who invest, I wanted to tell you that Joanne MacArthur is speaking at the same time in like maybe 20 minutes. So you can go to her. I will not be offended. Like you already know most of what I will talk about. She's one of the best speakers that we have in this movement. So really, if you want to go, you can go. For others, or if you stay, I will offer a consolation prize because you have to skip Joanne, which, sorry. And the prize will be how to retire with 1 million euros. So I guess that's, equal trade if you skip Joanne. But I will need a volunteer for this. Wait, sorry. I will talk about one of the most important models that there is on Earth. It's a direct quote from Charlie Munger. And I need a volunteer for this. And I have the perfect person who wanted to volunteer for animals since he was 13 years old. He filled the form, but we didn't allow him in. And 10 years later, he's now a volunteer. So I think he would be perfect to volunteer for this. Is that fine? Yes, you should come on the stage and I will have to go there. No. You can sit down. I will have to go there with to do some stuff with the computer. Okay. So, how old are you? 23. So, the age of retirement for men in Lithuania is 65. So what we will do now, we will calculate what he needs to do to retire with 1 million euros in his bank account. So we will enter 42 years in this compound interest calculator. We will choose 10% interest rate, because that's how stock market grows approximately on average each year. Then a question to you: what amount of money could you invest initially, or maybe already have invested?
Per month, right?
No, initially, like the first,
initially.
as the first one.
I don't know, 500 euros?
Okay,
1,000?
500 euros. And then let's choose that you will do how many euros each month you could invest?
Around 100, I guess.
Okay, 100. And let's calculate how much money you will have when you retire. Okay, so it's not 1 million yet. Let's say you can retire because you are running a lot and not smoking. And let's do 1 more year and see how it changes. Okay, almost 1 million. Let's say 45.
Maybe we should increase my monthly...
No, just wait 3 more years.
Okay.
And
Well,
you will be able to retire with 1 million. Now, the important part here is this chart. So, you see the blue part, the little like blue line. That's what he has put in here. The orange part is what compounded, the growth that he got from 10% interest rate. Right? So, I don't know about you, but when I look at these charts, I can understand that I need to invest. But it's not actually that much every month if you can have like 100 euro, like the sum of 100 euros is not that much. And then in the end of your professional career, you can be a millionaire, right? And if you're Polish, you don't even need that long, because with million zloty is not really that much. Okay, we can...
Thank you.
Thank you, Nois.
Can I get a screenshot of that?
Screenshot, yes, we will send you a screenshot. So, okay, so what I just showed you is how compounding works. And the compounding is a very simple but often overlooked idea that small, consistent gains can snowball into massive results, right? Do you know this guy? Okay, Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world. So that's how his wealth grew over his life. And if you notice, like, he was 30 when he made the first million, and he was 56 when he made the first billion. And he was over retirement age already when he became like the richest man. And now he's not the richest, but now he's 94. And if you draw this, like for 94, he has, I think, 1.5 billion. So it wouldn't even fit here, right? That's the man who understands compounding. And the idea here is like very simple. You just have to wait a very long time, right? But it also works not only with money. Let's say you improve by 2% each month. And whatever you want, like improve is like your definition of improve. It can be like learning more, getting new skills. But after 7 years, you will be 2 times better. After 11 years, you will be 3 times better. And then you see, like with each, almost like each year, you get better much quicker. And why is that? And I like to show it in this way. Like imagine you have 2 pieces of knowledge. There's only one connection that you can have between them. If you have 3 like points of knowledge, there's already 3 connections. With 4, you get 6. With 5, you get 10. And it's like the more pieces of knowledge you have in your head, the more ways you have in like connecting them all. So at first, yeah. maybe doesn't look like much, but if you keep at it, if you keep like adding and adding and adding, even by like small amounts, but if you're consistent, you can become like very wise indeed. Okay, so let's get back to the fundraiser's nightmare campaign. And this is the graph that we have for Tušti Narvai, how we grew the amount of money we get from it each year. So it's 10 years that we're doing it. First few years were not that successful, and if you just look at them, it doesn't look so inspiring, right? Should we really invest our time in it, our efforts in it? We're only barely getting like 5,000 euros in 2017. Add one more or 2 more years, still it doesn't look like we are getting that much out of it, right? And you might be tempted to ditch a campaign like that, or maybe not focus on it that much. But if you understand compound interest and like compounding in general, you can get this. And that's the amount of money that we got from it over 10 years. But more than half of it we received in the last 2 years. So by that logic, if we continue with the trend, in the next 2 years, we should get more than €250,000 from this campaign. And of course, I understand it will not continue indefinitely, right? There is some cap on what we are able to achieve, because like the country is small, that not everyone donates the stacks, but we still are not there yet. It's 70% of our total money that we received throughout our 10-year existence, right? So that's quite significant, but I expect it will become a bigger part in the future. So what are the ingredients of success? They apply to other campaigns as well, right? It's not only this campaign. The repetition. This campaign is perfect because we can repeat it every year. It is happening every year. And campaigns that repeat are cash cows. Aquila already talked about that in the morning a little bit, but I will maybe add something that Charlie Munger said, and I will let you read it. So, understanding the power of compound interest, but also the difficulty of getting it. What does he mean when he says like difficulty? It's not that easy to repeat something each year. One example that I have is that in 2022, we were at the very low capacity with the organization, and we in December we do these end-year campaigns, and that year I had a call with Jere and I said, I think this year we have to skip it. Like we just don't have the capacity to do it. Didn't have the fundraiser at the time. He was like, I think you shouldn't skip it, because I've seen what happens in organizations which have something that they repeat, and then something happens, they skip it, they don't come back. If you break a tradition, you will not come back. You saw it probably with COVID. Like in Lithuania, we used to have these like yearly events, and then COVID happened and many of them never came back, many of those like yearly events. So it is difficult, but there's another quote by Warren Buffett, and he says, the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. And I love that about this campaign, because you repeat it every year, and then it becomes something that your organization just does, and there is even no question about it, like, are we going to do it? Like, of course, there's a system, there's like, everything is built for us to do that campaign. So it's like the chains of habit are too heavy to be broken at this point. Right? So repetition, where you can repeat fundraising campaigns, maybe year-end campaign, maybe tax assignation, maybe you have something else in your country, like, or I don't know, Giving Tuesday or whatever, like you have that you can repeat every year. will be those campaigns where you can get a lot of, like, where the compounding effect can take place. Then the second ingredient is constant improvement, right? I went on our Google Drive and I looked for the earliest thing that I could find about this campaign. And the embarrassing thing is that the first thing I found was from 2018. So it means that either we didn't even do anything, made any documents about it, or we didn't save them because they were just not interesting at all. But basically what this is like a list of restaurants and then a name of a volunteer who will take care of the restaurant. You know what we did in those restaurants? We had postcards. See if you can spot the fundraising ask there. So that's how we fundraised, right? With some postcards in some restaurants, and it says, give this percentage thing to Tušti Narvai. Help us help animals. Yeah, there's so many things wrong with it, right? Fast forward a few years, now we have, it's like a small part of a spreadsheet that we have. Basically, every day we know approximately, with 99% accuracy, how much money we will be getting in a few months, right? And it's not perfect. We have to enter a lot of the data manually. Maybe next year we can automate it so that the data just appears in our spreadsheet from all the different sources. And then we have more brain power left to focus on how to make the campaign even better. And that's how compounding works, right? And then the last ingredient for success is bolder decisions. If you told me, a few years ago, spend 15,000 euros on Facebook ads in 2 months, that's my reaction. It's still my reaction now. It's oh my God, it's so much money on Facebook ads in such a short period of time. And when you see the money just decreasing in your bank account every few days. But if you look at it that way, this is how much we got each year and how much we spent. It's oh shit, we are not spending enough. We need to spend more because it's paying off. It's just a small part of what we're getting. So each year you can become bolder with this because you already have enough data to see if it's working. Okay, so now I want to also tell you about obstacles that you might encounter. And if you are a fundraiser, maybe you sometimes feel that you have to also carry your director or boss through those obstacles, and they don't want to go, right? So, fear of spending money, right? It's a lot of money, and I recently talked with one of a person who runs another organization in Lithuania, and she told me that they spend 1,000 euros on ads for this. And that's a lot for her. And but what did you get? Well, 8,000 more. So it's not really it pays off. They could be spending more, but still people have this fear of spending money. So my advice is start small. First year when we put some money into ads, it was only 600 euros. Other years we didn't do anything, but then you see if it's working and you see if you're getting any return on it, and you can increase it. Then there's also fear of asking for donations. Here it's even I think in this campaign it plays more in Lithuania because it's anonymous, so you kind of keep asking the people who already probably are giving it. So you don't want to annoy the people who are giving this to you. So it plays more into let's not overwhelm our audience, let's not ask anymore, maybe let's not show so many ads because these people might be donating already. And with this, it's very hard. Like, I think that we have beliefs about money which are very irrational. We have some, like, money is somehow different than other resources. When I see people who have to make, like my team members, have to make decisions about money, or they have to make decisions about like using, the time of volunteers. These are very different in their heads, how they value money, and there's some psychological issues attached to money, and maybe you have noticed it as well, but the most common mistakes that I see, like thinking mistakes when it comes to money, is that some people think that the money that someone gives to you is like the most valuable resource that anyone can give anyone. And if that's how you treat it, then maybe you are more afraid to ask for it. But to many people, money is not that important. It's just a tool. And they will gladly give you money because they don't have any time. Right? Like they would maybe want to volunteer, but they have busy lives, they have children, whatever, and they will be happy to give you money. But some fundraisers, some executive directors don't see it that way. The other mistake that I see, which is common, is that people value money more than they value their own time. So someone would like walk for 1.5 hours to save €1 because that's the price of the ticket, right? And when, I don't know about you, but like I grew up quite poor. I mean, we were not like super poor, but we were not rich as well. And when you don't have money, you tend to like have these things which are not very rational once you start having money. But that doesn't change. Like people who didn't have money maybe growing up or like in their lives, once they start having money as like directors of organizations, their beliefs about money don't change. They still act as if they didn't have money. So maybe you can think of other examples that you have seen in your work, but here it's very hard. I don't have a diploma for addressing this, but I recommend maybe you give your executive director this book for Christmas present. It's really good. And then the other obstacle here, especially with this campaign, is the fear of making decisions. You have to make decisions on how much money to spend or what to do in the environment which is uncertain, right? This year, after 10 years of doing the campaign, we are able to predict how much we will get with a lot of accuracy, but it wasn't like that at all. Even like last year, our model was off by maybe 15–20%. Before that, we didn't even know what we were doing. We were just kind of walking in a dark room and like trying, like touching things in the dark and trying to understand what's happening. So it's very difficult to make decisions in a lot of uncertainty. But here again, I don't know how to address that with most people because, like, how to address it in a talk, which is like half an hour long. But here I would just advise that it's better to be approximately right than exactly wrong. And if you don't invest money into fundraising, if you don't, account for the power of compound interest in your campaigns, you are exactly wrong, right? There will come a point where we will overspend on this campaign because diminishing returns will at some point kick in. But we will only know when we reach it. So at some point, there will be a decision made, like, let's spend this amount of money, and it will be too much. But how can I know that before reaching it? What I could do is like, okay, let's not spend money anymore. Or like, let's cap it at here. But we had this discussion with Jiri. He said, I think you already reached diminishing returns. With like previous year when we spent €12,000. I was like, yeah, but let's see. And we didn't, probably. We can still spend more. But there will come a year when I will be wrong and he will be right. Right? Yeah. Hope. And another thing is like not making a decision is also a decision. Okay, so to recap, I have one question for you. What is the most powerful force in the universe? And no, it's not the stupidity of your executive director. Aquila, yeah. It's not. So who knows? What's the most powerful force in the universe? It's... Yes. No, it's a talk about fundraising, guys. Let's remember, it's in the name of the talk, there's an answer. Compound interest. Compound interest. It's a quote by Daniel Pink. So, question time.
So thank you very much for that. And we have a few questions from the Aventry app. Maybe it's over there and I will just ask you a question. No? Okay.
No,
As you prefer. Okay, so the audience wanted to know, how do you know that it's the ads that are working if one of the issue with tax campaigns is that you don't know where the donors are coming from? That was the most voted one.
Yeah, it's a good question. We track who comes to the website from where. And basically our model now works like this. We know people who come to our landing page and they press a button to go to the external website of the state tax institution. So we have that data for a few years and we basically just know what the conversion is. So let's say we get 10,000 people coming to the website, 1,000 clicking the link, and plus 100 donors. So let's say that's a conversion. And we know we track ads, so we know if this person came from the ad and they pressed the link, and then we assume that they donated. We also see that if we invest more in ads, we get more visits, we get more clicks, and we get more donations. Yes, it's an assumption. Like maybe these people are coming from our those postcards that they found 7 years ago in a restaurant. It can be true as well. We will never know. But if you're interested in talking about like more details, like exact details, exact predictions and models that we use, we can discuss it. I know that each country has this campaign that has it a bit different, so I didn't want to go into too much detail because it might be totally irrelevant for you, even if you have this type of campaign.
Okay, it's a very similar question. How do you target and separate people who didn't donate from those who did in order to target them when it's anonymous?
Yeah, I would have to look at the ad manager, but basically we just we assume, I think, that if they clicked on the I will donate to this, I think we don't target them anymore, which is, again, it's not correct because not all of them donate, but then we need to set up some kind of conversion there because otherwise then just all people would be seeing them and Facebook wouldn't know who to target, like who's more likely to click and then target those. I don't know if that answers the question that someone asked, but if you want to talk more about this, just find me after.
All right, and another one is, you talked about the growth, but when would you think asymmetric growth is more of the model to assume, talking about diminishing returns? So it's more like a statement.
Can I read it?
Yeah, sure.
Which one?
The second one.
Oh, George. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you addressed it a bit almost, but still
Asymptomatic growth. Oh, no, it says asymptomatic growth is more of the model. Okay, so this is a math question, and this should be addressed to Jere because he did like a model, which I didn't show you because it's like way over my abilities to do math. So he did a formula for us on how it should grow, and maybe he can answer because I looked at that model for like 2 hours one time and I didn't get it. So it's good to have someone who knows how to do math. It is really helpful in fundraising. So yeah. I hope you remember what you did there in the model because.
Okay, so another one is, do you use any specific story for the tax campaign, or it's more of a general ad, or maybe collaboration with an influencer, any difference between each year's story of the ad?
Yeah, we tried out a lot of things during these years. Even in the same year, we might be trying different ads. So we did like conceptual ads, we did general, we did like campaign related ads. And I would say like these campaigns are awesome because you can try out different things and you can test different things. And it depends on what you're doing as well. Like if we are in the midst of fur farming ban campaign, of course we will be talking about fur farming ban more in the ads, but you can try general ads as well. Yeah, just test and try out different things.
So another one, what do you use for audience targeting on Meta for the tax campaigns?
What do we use for audience?
Yeah, for audience targeting.
I'm not sure I understand. Like, what are the options? What do we use? Like, we allow Meta to decide a lot of things. It was the advice we got from the social media marketing agency that you can just let them choose the best people. So we do that.
Okay. Following up on the story of campaigns, which one was the most successful?
Sorry, I don't understand the question. The story?
I think it's connected to the question of the story. So a difference between each year's story of the ad and then the person is following up the story campaign. Which one was the most successful one?
Well, the last year was the most successful one. Before that, the other year was the most successful one. But I don't think it's a story itself. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. I think it's like this campaign works because things compound. Even maybe we didn't choose the best story last year, but because so many other things are already kind of fine-tuned, it's like each year we get more donors. It might be. It might be that it doesn't matter. Like you have to understand how the people, how do they give this thing? So they sit down to do their taxes, and there are two types of people. One is that the one who does it the first day when they're allowed, and the other does it on the last day when like the state is like mandating you to do it. So they sit down to do it, they do the taxes, and then they remember, because the website of the state also kind of suggests that you have to, like, do you want to donate? What's in their mind at that time? And how can you be on their mind? Yeah, but maybe the story doesn't matter. I don't know. You were raising your hand. Yeah.
I was more like a follow-up on the question. Maybe it sounds like you're doing two different periods of time, like two different times of the year. But it's also about having you had any creative that is more engaging than the other, like a celebrity saying, when I'm doing my taxes, I make sure that I donate to something like that, or is it more ads that show something specific creative?
Yeah.
What are your examples of what are your experiences? Do you have anything that we might apply to our countries that work really well? Is it a celebrity? Is it a testimonial? Is it a story about animals? What
Yeah, so we never used a celebrity for this, as far as I remember. one of the best ads for this campaign was a baby fox in a cage. And we did the same visual for a few years. It was like one of the best. Baby animals in general, like one baby animal works better. But I would also, like, I could just like give you the visuals and the statistics if you wanted. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we have another question. What are the essential components of fundraising campaign that will lead to compounding growth?
Yeah, so the essential components like repetition, constant improvement. So you have to be improving, you have to want to do better. I think it's very important to have this ambition to do better, because then you're looking for ways to do it in a better way. What I see sometimes is just people, they just do things and then they are like, well, we did it, we felt good, so let's do it again next year. And that's it, right? So have to want to be better and then look for the things that you can improve. So if you improve something each year, even a little bit, you will see compounding most likely. One other thing that we do, and I recommend it highly, is reflection after a campaign. We call it reflection. Some other groups call it like post-mortem. So you sit down with a team, and it's for anything, any campaign, and you have a list of questions that you have to answer. So what went well this year? First, it's like, what goals did we have? Did we achieve the goals? You put the numbers in there. And then you talk about what was done well, what could be improved, what were the mistakes made. And then next year, when you start this campaign, that's the first thing that you read. So I looked, when I was preparing, like I looked at this year's document. It's like, started preparing too late. Okay. It's most years, I think, we write something like that. But even when we start earlier, like we still, you want to start even earlier every year. But that's for us, it's very, very helpful. It's like reflecting, writing it down, and then actually reading it. Because, yeah, reading it is the important part if you want to improve. And then, I said bolder decisions, like you have to do things that are risky if you want a reward. That's the same is with investing. You get a reward if you invest money, but it's also risky. You might lose your money. You might have to be very patient when the market is down and you see that your investment portfolio is like 50% down and you cannot take it out, but you're very scared. So like learning how to deal with your fears, like being afraid of stuff, but doing it anyway. I think that's very important, but that's like activism in general, not only fundraising.
Okay, so another one is, does everything go to one organization, or is it split or can be split between several?
Yeah, it can be split. This 1.2% can be split in any number of parts that you want in our country. So you can do 0.12 and give it to 10, and however many you want. But I think if you do it too much, then if the donation amount is very small, the state might not actually transfer it. So if it's like 1 cent, then for them the cost of transferring is too high. Oh, okay. So that's one of the, I said like they are so different in each country. Like in some countries, people get they can give you their data, so you might know who's donating to you. Then you can thank them. You can ask them next year. We can do that kind of.
Okay, so another one is not really a question, but I finished with the question, so I approved it. Not a question, but an observation. There are also a third kind of people. I think people who have not decided to give their percent of tax at all and didn't plan on doing that. So maybe they are the ones that should be reached and for whom the narrative of campaign matters. is it right for you or wrong? How do you feel about that?
The percentage of people in Lithuania who give this, I think, is like 30%. Like 30% of people who can do it actually do it. Like it's less than half. Should we focus on the people who never do it, spend our efforts there? Or should we focus on the people who are already in our mailing list and already donating to animals? And I didn't put in the slide, but like, we have almost 2,000 people giving to us this year. So it's not a lot, and we can double what we get by just adding 2,000 more people. So why would I go to someone who has never donated to try to get a donation out of them instead of going to someone who knows how to do it? They do it every year. They are like more, I think they're just more likely. It's the same with like, who will you ask first for a regular donation? Some random person on the street or someone who has already given you single donations 3 times? Like, where is it more likely that you will get a yes?
Okay. Another question is, are the tax campaigns recurring donations from the donors? So once designed and done?
Oh, yes. In Lithuania, they can choose how many years they are giving this to you, and the maximum is 5 or 4 years. But then they can change it. So they might say, oh, I designate this for 4 years for you, but the next year they will see something else. Maybe the war in Ukraine will start, and they will say, oh, no, now I need to give this to Ukrainian aid organizations. So yeah, they can do it for a few years, but then they can also change it.
And I think it's going to be our last question now. In other fundraising campaigns where we can see results immediately without the delayed feedback, what is the best time to track and reinvest to achieve compounding growth? And would you evaluate on the budgets, weekly, daily? How you see that?
I don't know if I understand the question. When is the best time to reinvest? Like, I don't know if I would frame it that way myself when I think about these things. Would say, if you are doing a campaign and you're getting money from it, you can just decide that before even like doing it, that 20% of what I get here, or 10%, will go immediately into ads where I'm asking other people to donate. And then after a while, you will see if it's working or not. And if it's working, why wouldn't you put more money into it? But if it's not working, like, for me, it's hard to understand this when it's the best time part, because the best time is now. Like, there is probably no bad time. We have this thing where statistically, like, August is the worst month for collecting donations, right? It's like in the world. But then we did the fundraising campaign in August, and it's going to be our most successful fundraising campaign ever. So some people would say it's like bad time now, but I don't know if I understand the question, basically.